All right, let's do a little short story. What do you say? A little 12-minute snippet. A sneak peek, if you will. Story of Kalanu and Jahliel. I'll give you the backstory real quick. Let's get 12 minutes set up on that thing real quick. Here's the backstory of Kalanu and Jahliel. It's right at, I want to say, the end of 2020-ish, into 2019, when I started writing nonfiction and stuff like that, mainly to make money to fund some patents. I'd had this concept idea. I wanted to do this novel, but like a never-ending novel that would just go an entire lifetime, and you never finish it. You got this volume, that volume, that volume. No set time on it, but it's like I knew what kind of creative mind it would take and what kind of position I'd need to be in to start fleshing those kind of novels out, those kind of love stories, and putting stories to each one of them based off of a couple of premises. And when I set that out, I figured by 2025 I would already be rolling in millions, and I would be in that position, and I would already have the first volume done at the end of 2025. Well, as time's gone on, learned a lot of different things, still learning. I'm still not in the situation to really do that. However, the idea is still there. It's not going anywhere. I mean, you can just, the idea is cool enough to where you can just throw anything pertaining to that and it'll still come out pretty damn freaking cool. Kind of like a good steak, you know, a good steak. I mean, it's really hard to mess up a good steak. You may overcook it and burn it, but it still can be a pretty good steak. You can take a hammer and loosen it up a bit and it's still a good steak. But this story is based off the premise of, I don't want to say mythological beings, but it's kind of like the Adam and Eve story. Except in this story, this man and this woman, they're basically the first man and the first woman, but they were by the hand of God. And they stood next to the Holy Trinity. They never had no beginning or no end. They just always were. They were just always those lovers. And as they flesh out here in the human flesh. But here is the thing. As they flesh out and they're born into this world again, they don't know who they are. They don't know who they truly are. They don't know their true manifestation powers. And they definitely don't know that they've always been. They don't know that they have no beginning. They don't know that they have no end. But sometimes they do find out when they're alive in the flesh here in this world, and they're indigenous to this planet. And as they die and they're reincarnated, let's go ahead and get the clock going, 12 minutes. As they die and they're reincarnated, they have different lives. They're reincarnated through different times, ancient times, new times, modern times, times right now. And many times as they come and live, they discover themselves, but they don't never actually find themselves. Like one could be born into a family all the way on this other side of the world. The other one could be born in this other family on the other side of the world. And there is absolutely no hint, no link of anything that would show that they've always been together. Nothing. Until they have some type of spiritual awakening that is deeper than what most people ever have. So, at this time, sometimes they'll awaken when they're young and they start searching each other out. Sometimes they're older. Sometimes one's older than the other, quite a bit older than the other. It could be vice versa. They could be completely different ethnic groups. Oops, phone's falling over. Hang on. Cameraman's not doing his job. So, anyways, as this happens, once they discover each other, there's one thing that they do each time. And it's like, it almost like activates their spiritual power, their oneness with God, their sovereign oneness with the Holy Trinity. And what they do is just natural. It comes alive through their spirit, and it manifests through their flesh. And they always do this one thing: as true love is the future of humanity, as true love is the history of humanity, as true love is the side of humanity, as true love is the other side of humanity, as true love is below the feet of humanity, as true love is above the heads of humanity, as true love is within humanity, as true love is without, we cast true love still. All of that. That's a salutation that they do, and they've done it since the beginning of time, over and over and over. And as they do that, they start calling out to one another, and there's a vibe in the atmosphere. And as they put that vibe in the atmosphere, and their attraction becomes stronger and stronger. One could be in a hopeless state of mind. One could be completely traumatized on the other side of the world from war, God knows what. One could be brought up in a rich family, whatever. You never know how they're going to be incarnated. But once they discover who they truly are, and they know that this flesh is just a shell, they don't fear death. And as they don't fear death, it's like, hey, it's game on. They will pull anything and everything, any off-the-wall game. And what's so amazing about this couple, when they find each other, as they find each other, they have such a powerful, powerful, powerful presence of true love. They heal entire cities, they heal entire states, they can heal entire nations given enough years in a row. More powerful than anything. If you put it into like some type of religious type thing, it would be like Jesus in the flesh, the healing powers and raising from the dead, but in two different people. That's who they are. Kalanu, the man. Jahliel, the woman. They have an access to the artificial intelligence of the universe. See, the universe has an intelligence, and they can tap into this. That's what makes them so powerful. They can douse the universe anywhere, anyhow, any time, any place, for any reason they wish. They don't need electrical circuits. They don't need phones. They don't need none of that. Although they use them, depending on which life they're born into. And as they use these things, they find one another, and then they conduct business. And that business can depend on what they're going through, and it's completely up to them. Sometimes it's sinister. Sometimes it's benevolent. Sometimes it's a savior type thing. And sometimes they use their power for vengeance against the people. It's all up to them, and they know this. That's what makes them so powerful. So in this time, Jahliel, wherever she's at, she knows who she is now, and she's dousing the spirit of the universe to find Kalanu. And Kalanu, he's trying to find her, and he's got an idea where she's at. It's directionally correct, but it could be within several hundreds of miles, and you have no idea, out of millions of people against all odds. And what makes it such a crazy twist on this lifetime is Kalanu, all his life, he'd had relationships problems. He could never make any relationship problems pan out. You know, he'd see other people's problems, them work through it and whatever, have some kind of decent something, you know, some kind of thing work out, but he could never get it to work. There's this one thing that plagued him that he could never, it never really came to conscious of his mind until he was up in his upper 40s. But every time whoever he was with. When he reached climax during sex, after that he would have a disgusted feeling, just completely disgusted with himself, with her, whoever he was with at the time. And then it was just disconnected. It's like, oh. I mean, during the time, it's beautiful, it's great, it's wonderful. But after that just freaking disgusted happened each and every time. But he could never place a finger on it. He never realized that that's what's happening, because it had always happened from the first time he had ever had sex through all those years, all the way up into his 40s, until he had discovered that he was traumatized. He had been sexually humiliated when he was very young, talking like 3-4 years old, and it traumatized him. And it took a tremendous amount of research, a tremendous amount of healing, a tremendous amount of reaching for healings that he didn't even know what names needed to be put on them, or how they were going to come about, or who they would come about. But he tracked it, and he tracked all of it. He tracked it well, quite well, and he kept a lot of data and a lot of journaling. And he healed himself. And as he healed himself, he knew he was healed. He knew it was over. He knew he surmounted what traditional psychology says when you're traumatized, when a human being is traumatized that way, they're basically damaged goods. They cannot be fixed. They're just going to have to just live with that whatever programming trauma. But he surmounted it. And as he discovered these things, he could feel Jahliel. He could feel her talking to him through his head mind, his heart mind, his gut mind, his body mind, the earth mind, the spirit of the universe mind. Every single day, he knew she was out there. He knew she was coming. She knew he's coming. And they knew that pretty soon they would meet up and they would do business again. And they would have all these memories flood of past lives, 20 lives, 50 lives, 100 lives, just like going through a library, like going through the internet, like you're shuffling through a bunch of movies, just super awesome movies. And they could do this when they would get together, and they would just come up with all these lives, and they would just bounce these ideas off each other, depending on what timeline they're in, what part of the world they're in, what's going on with the politics, the religion, the people, the culture. And they could see what they wanted to do and how they wanted to do it and why they wanted to do it. And it was all this fun game. It was all the fun game. It was just part of the true love story. Not the greatest true love story ever told, but the only true love story ever told. And that's all they were after. That's all they were ever after. So anyways, that's almost 12 minutes. We still got 1 minute and 44 seconds. Dang. But to flesh it out even more, deep down he knew that this Jahliel, he does not know what she looks like. He doesn't know if she's tall, skinny, fat, black, white, Asian, freaking Amazon. He has no idea what kind of woman, ethnic group she is, because it's the spirit inside that he's going to know and recognize. That's how they know each other. It's not the flesh. It's not like this flesh, oh, this reminds me of that one flesh. But there is a thing that happens throughout the eons and eons and eons. This DNA that we wear, picture your DNA. It's like after so many millions upon millions of lives going through millions on millions of years, that DNA will bounce around all over the world, and it will find itself again, and it will spawn off a flesh that is pretty much identical to that one millions and millions of years ago, and that is pretty much the same one. And hopefully, Kalanu and Jahliel, they're always looking for that cycle in the universe. They're always looking for that cycle, because when they can find that cycle and they come together, it is the most powerful thing in the heavens, in the universe, that can possibly happen. And that year is 2030, 2033. Not our 2033, but it's a different cycle. So, all right, that's 12 minutes. So that's a little window into Kalanu and Jahliel. Not the greatest love story ever told, but the only love story ever told. Biscayne Bay. Still blows my mind. You know, there's people here that will charge you $8 for a bottle of water. And it's well worth it too. You're well worth it. Craziest business. So anyways, life is not all gloom and doom. See you in the funny papers.